My only child. Jason. You let him drown. You never paid any attention. Look what you did to him. Look what you did to him.
Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and as promised in that video I made all those months ago, I'm going to make this promise now, so those of you who actually watch this video and remember for later, the next Friday the 13th that we get in 2021, I will do a video where I watch every single one of these in a row and do like a reaction for each one. It's Friday the 13th again, or at least it will be when I upload this, and I'm finally going to be breaking this bad boy in right here. We got 12 movies, we got, I think, like 18 hours of runtime, and we have a challenge that I've never done before. The most I've ever watched of these movies is the first 8 when Shudder did the Monday the 13th marathon back in April of 2020. So this is my first time watching all 12 in a row, one after the other. We'll see how sane I get. We'll see how long it takes. And yeah, we'll see if this channel still has a host and founder when it's done. So what I love about revisiting the first movie, and not just this one, but the first movie of any like major horror slasher franchise, is that there's no baggage to it. It's just trying to be its own thing. It's not trying to be a bigger franchise. And it's interesting to see how the first movie is always the best at just being a standalone. So what we get is this really cool kind of like murder mystery with great, practical effects and kills, compliments of Tom Savini. My favorite will always be the arrow through Kevin Bacon's neck. And what we get is a movie that started as something of a Halloween ripoff, or at least that's what, Sean Cunningham later admitted. But it sort of becomes its own thing. The franchise has got a death curse. Let's have a moment of silence for my man Crazy Ralph. Watching the second one immediately after the first one, not the first time I've done it, but this time you especially notice like the first act kind of just feels like the exact same story beats, like they're doing the same movie over again, even down to like the same camera angle of like the 3 counselors in the car, mimics that from the first one. After that, I do like how this one goes off in its own direction. I know there's the whole controversy about, like, how is Jason alive? Where's he been all this time? How did he drown as a 10-year-old and become, a roided out, ripped 20-something? These are the things you're not meant to ask in this franchise. Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D, with random characters and objects coming at the screen. Yeah, so 2 things. Firstly, this movie still has the best intro music I've ever heard, maybe ever. The do dun 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 dun. The kind that sounds like you're at like a 70s disco party. Secondly, I watched the 2D version, so I have the 4K collection from Scream Factory, and so far the first movies look amazing in the restoration. This one, at least the 2D version, it's not looking so great, and I think it's because of the transfer they must have done for the 3D process. It just doesn't. It looks eh. That said, what can I say? This movie, it was before the series got really, really ridiculous, but it still has a little bit of like with that, angry couple at the beginning. I do love this the first time we get Jason with his iconic hockey mask. It does have some fun kills and some fun moments, with the guy doing the handstand or, the couple debating how to get it on in the hammock. But one big takeaway, I've had so far is, it feels like in the Halloween franchise, they're very protective about, don't show Michael Myers' face. I kind of like how in this one, they go all out. It's like, no, show Jason running and looking like, an orc from Lord of the Rings. It's got, it really ups the kills, it ups the blood. There's a lot more nudity. It's like everything that, the slasher fans wanted, final chapter delivers. You have this really fun, awkward performance by Crispin Glover, where he's basically, George McFly in training. You have Corey Feldman as, starting out his career and just, nailing it, defeating Jason with the power of haircuts. So it still remains probably my favorite of the entire franchise, at least of the movies I've watched so far. It has genuinely interesting characters who feel like real people. It has great kills, and it has one of the most epic, over-the-top Jason kills. A lot of people aren't big fans of Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. But I think they're really out of line. It's actually pretty good. I mean, granted, yeah, it's a bit of a cop-out that, like, other than the first one, it's the only one to not really feature Jason other than a nightmare sequence, which I get what they were going for, but I still think that twist works better if you do have Tommy Jarvis inheriting the mantle, as was kind of teased at the end of Part 4. Alright, here's some statistics for you. There are 12 movies total to watch. 6 movies down. The time is now 3-something. That's not actually a watch. But what I want to talk about right now is the fact that Jason Lives might be... I still like Final Chapter better, but it's almost on par with it. It's the first time Jason becomes overtly supernatural. That's such a cool opening that, feels, reminiscent of, Frankenstein. I love that this is sort of Tommy Jarvis in his prime as Jason's arch nemesis. I love this is the first time we actually see kids at the camp. So it adds real stakes that, before it was only just the counselors, but this time you're like, oh my god, is he gonna kill these children? And you're kind of worried maybe he will. Alright, let's regroup. I'm now finally just more than halfway done whatever this thing is. So, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Kind of disappointing that, they didn't get to do Freddy versus Jason. I know that was initially the plan, but out of New Line not, giving them the rights to it, I feel like he got something kind of better. I genuinely love the, Carrie versus Jason dynamic. I think too often when hero and a villain are pitted up against each other, whether it's Marvel movies or anything, they're too similar. It's like their powers are just the same. But I like that they're completely different, and it makes for a more interesting conflict. Plus, again, it's the first time we have Kane Hodder as Jason. He is still, he's a lot of people's favorites. He's my favorite. Fun fact, I peed next to him at a urinal at a horror convention in Jersey once. I didn't say anything to him. Rules of the men's room still apply. Face forward, no words, but that was him next to me. So I peed next to Jason Voorhees. As for the movie itself, it's starting to get where I'm noticing as I'm watching him over and over again. It's like, oh, which Friday the 13th is this? It's the one with the teenage girl that has the repressed trauma from her childhood. Which one? Okay, so here's the scoop. The sun is starting to rise over Camp Crystal Lake. Or also here on my street. There's also been a dog barking for the last hour. But I've just finished Jason Takes Manhattan, and at risk of inciting the rage of the internet, I don't think it's that bad. I actually kind of like it. To be fair, yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it has some goofy kills. Yes, it has the random rock music montage in the middle of it when the girl's in the, in the bowels of the ship. And yes, it is very frustrating that, it's only Jason Takes Manhattan for like the last 30 minutes when, it should have been called Jason on a Boat, but then that sounds like the Lonely Island song. But there were some genuine moments I really enjoyed. I love, the character of Sean and his father, the captain. That whole exchange between them at the beginning is actually kind of brilliant. The way that, he wants his son to take over as captain, his son doesn't want it. And just with minimal dialogue and body language and tone of voice, you get such a sense of, what their relationship is like. And it's just weird little subtle character moments like that the series isn't really known for, but was really pulled off well there. Well, here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, was quite refreshing to watch. I mean, yeah, to be fair, it's still probably one of my least favorite of the Friday the 13th movies. It doesn't even feel like a Friday the 13th movie. Jason's really only in the beginning and the end. It kind of feels more like a early 90s mystery thriller type movie. That said, after watching 8 movies in a row that a lot of them kind of follow the same beats and, similar characters and plot lines, it was just interesting to get something different now, considering I've been up for like 25 or 26 hours at this point. I don't know. I lost track. It's cool to see Kane Hodder, out of the getup and just, as Kane Hodder. I think this movie, it had interesting concepts. It's a bit too sort of early 90s, taking itself too seriously, thinking it's Silence of the Lambs, but it's not. The bounty hunter, I still don't know what to make of that guy, but it was fun to watch it after, more of the same. Uber Jason! This has been sitting like 5 feet away from my couch the whole time I've been watching these, and I haven't actually thought to wear it until just now. My bad. So, Jason X. Jason Goes to Space. As far as the slasher goes to space trend, it's definitely more entertaining than something like Leprechaun in Space or, even, well, the Hellraiser one was more dramatic. This one's just, it's good slasher fun. It's sort of that weird late 90s, early 2000s where it has a real cheap production value and almost seems like a TV movie in the way that it's shot. And like the visual effects when out in space look like something out of like, a CD-ROM game from like 1995. But other than all that, it's just a fun, weird little, random, hey, let's make this while we're still working on Freddy vs. Jason. I just got through Freddy vs. Jason. That's a fun one. For about 20 minutes that it's actually like Freddy versus Jason, and the fights are cool, even though I miss Kane Hodder and it's not the same. For the part that it actually is Freddy versus Jason, I'm game. Everything else is just, why with the fast, choppy MTV editing? Look, I get that was all the rage in the early 2000s. It worked for Saw. I don't think it worked for any other horror movie or any other horror franchise. It's crazy because, so Freddy vs. Jason comes out like a year and a half after Jason X. So there's 18 months between them, but it feels like they're decades apart in terms of, stylistically. So you've got Jason X, which is kind of like a slower paced, kind of campy, kind of cheesy, feels like almost like a 90s TV movie with, nudity and gore. And then you've got Freddy vs. Jason that's just in your face with the rock music, and that this is extreme, this is super serious and intense, and here's a bunch of unlikable characters you don't care about, and then here's 20 minutes of actual Freddy vs. Jason. I've done it. I've finished 12 movies like 18, 20 hours, I don't even know. I've been awake for almost 40 hours straight, and I'm just wearing this mask to conceal the bags under my eyes. So, Friday the 13th, 2009 remake. It's weird. It's like every time I watch that movie, it's hard to get into. Now this time, it's because I just watched the other 11 first. But I like certain things they did with it. You know, the tunnels underground, that was a really cool idea. I like how they kind of tried to, like, remake the first three all in one. But that said, it kind of just does the exact same thing that, like, any other... there's nothing unique about it. There's nothing that new or interesting about it. It doesn't justify its own existence as a remake. Now, it's a decently made movie. It's not as bad as, you know, it's nowhere near the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and, you know, it's okay. It's a perfectly okay movie, and it's the last thing we've ever gotten from Jason Voorhees, probably for a while, unless they get that, legal thing settled. But it was a nice palate cleanser to end on after the migraine-inducing, editing and style that is Freddy vs. Jason. At least with the exception of the 20 minutes that are actually Freddy vs. Jason. I know a lot of people like the Friday the 13th remake because it has the dude from Supernatural. I've never really watched it, so he's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't regret this at all. I just watched all 12 Friday the 13th movies. Kind of disappointed there's not 13. And I'm still standing. I'm still standing better than I ever did. Before I go, I just have to say, this was a lot of fun. You know, I know that, lack of sleep. I already don't get sleep. I have a newborn. But, this was a crazy stunt. As always, like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, Jason will come after you tonight. Don't forget to check out the website, HalloweenYearRound.com. Follow it on Facebook and Twitter. Let me know in the comments, what other series you want me to do this with. Or just say hi. That's always fun, too. I will be back. I'm actually... I don't want to give too much away, but I will be back with a new video in just a few days. And I think you will all be very interested to see that one. Let's just say that it will be a very conventional video, is the very obvious hint I will leave you. So, until I see you again, stay scared, and remember, every day is Halloween, or, well, every day is Friday the 13th. I know it's ki, ma, but I've always heard ha. Debate that in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go collapse.